Welcome to the deep dive. You've handed us an exhilarating, just terrifying stack of sources detailing a realm caught in the chaos of succession and this existential magical horror.
Yeah.
We have been plunged into the world of Brimstone, which is this politically charged nightmare where the fall of the tyrant Malcolm has, it seems, merely opened the gates for worse threats.
That's absolutely right. This isn't a transition period. It's a high-speed collision.
Yeah.
The political structure of Saeris Fane is, defined by blood and ancient curses.
Right.
But the immediate crisis is a magical plague, the Black Rot, that is just consuming the land and forcing every major player into this deadly race for knowledge and power.
Our mission today is to become fluent in this chaos. We are dissecting the sources to understand the key dynamics. Queen Saeris Fane and Kaidan, the complexity of their godbound partnership, the brutal mechanics of the Black Palace, and the truly horrific pathology of this black rot and the new enemy it's created. This material is dense, it's highly magical, and it's full of these crucial, really nuanced relationships. So I think we need to start by understanding the two people carrying the fate of the realm, the reluctant queen and her devoted commander.
It's really the only logical starting point, because the nature of their relationship defines every single external political move they make. Saeris Fane is the center of the storm, and she is just defined by contradiction.
Okay, so let's start with her. The alchemist queen, Saeris Fane.
Saeris Fane is, she's essentially a magical anomaly.
Wow.
She's half vampire, half fae, a lineage that already makes her suspect in the High Vampire Court. But she also possesses this chaotic, elemental power of a long-thought extinct class of magic users. The alchemists.
And crucially, she didn't come to the throne polished or prepared. Her human life was spent in Zilverin, where she learned resilience the hard way. The sources depict her existence as one of constant struggle. I mean, having to rob, steal, and navigate immense hardship alongside her brother Hayden just to survive. That grit, that necessity to always be a fighter, is fundamentally who she is now, regardless of the crown she wears.
And that survival instinct is actually reflected in her physical, magical advantages. Because of her blended identity and her latent alchemist affinity for manipulating metals, she holds this massive shield against traditional vampire weapons.
She's immune to silver and iron.
Completely immune.
Which is a huge detail we can't just gloss over. I mean, silver and iron are supposed to be instant killers, or at the very least paralyzing poisons for the high bloods.
Yeah, for Saeris, they just don't burn her. We even get a specific anecdote in the source material about a vampire who smells her blood and is surprised to discover she's only half-blood.
Right.
It implies her unique chemistry, gives her this innate defense mechanism against the rules that bind everyone else. It immediately elevates her above the petty dangers of her court.
It does. But while she is protected from external harm, her internal power is, it seems, the real danger.
It absolutely is. Her alchemist magic is described as chaotic and volatile, a force she cannot control and, barely understands.
And that's where the high-stakes risk lies. It's not a structured, trained magic at all. As a child, she accidentally melted her mother's cooking pot, a terrifying glimpse of elemental power.
And more recently, in a moment of extreme frustration during research, she blew a noticeable hole in the Black Palace library wall.
Wow.
Her magic is poetically rendered as a storm that rages beneath her skin.
Yeah.
She has no comprehension of what it is or how to control it. This lack of mastery means her power is reactive and potentially destructive, not strategic.
So for her political rivals, this isn't just a weakness, it's a target.
It's a huge target. They actively seek ways to trigger an uncontrolled reaction, hoping she will destroy herself or, at least prove herself unfit to rule.
A ticking time bomb. But thankfully, she has Kaidan, the Prince of Shadows, or Kingfisher, who provides the controlled, strategic counterweight to her chaos.
Kaidan is masterful in shadow magic. And this is not just some dark trickery. It's an incredibly potent structural magic that allows him to generate gates,
The portals.
instantaneous portals for travel across realms. And he can manifest weapons out of pure shadow, primarily his terrifyingly sharp knives. And of course, he also wields his godsword, Nimmerel.
He also serves as the realm's most effective early warning system. He has a sensory power derived from his magic, allowing him to listen beyond physical sound, detecting the presence and intentions of others simply by listening very hard.
An invaluable asset in a place like Emontreth.
Oh, absolutely, where everyone is a potential assassin.
What defines Kaidan, however, is the weight of duty he literally bears. His path and his destiny are defined by a tingling tattoo on his inner left forearm, the mark of sacrifice.
That word, sacrifice, constantly permeates his decisions. He loves his people, the Kalish and Yurin Fae, and his duty to protect them is absolute. But we see his profound internal struggle, balancing that non-negotiable duty against his fierce, primal desire for happiness and safety with Saeris. Every move he makes is viewed through the lens of that conflict.
Now, we need to discuss one of the most brilliant magical and political moves in the sources, the dual identity reveal and the power of names.
Okay.
In this world, a true name holds profound binding power. Kaidan's full actual name is Kidan Greystar Finvara.
Right, and we see Saeris use this name later during the Belicon ambush. So why does that specific utterance have such immense power in the context of magic and loyalty?
Because names in this world are intrinsically linked to oaths and bindings, especially for those of royal or divine lineage. Belicon believed that by knowing and using Kidan's true name, he could assert a magical command over him, rendering him a slave.
So he thought he had him trapped.
He thought he had complete control. But Cyrus's move was strategic genius. She spoke the name, yes, acknowledging its binding power, but only as a preface to utilizing a hidden countercharm. She spoke the name and immediately leveraged a secret rune to undo the magic bound to that name.
Wow. So she just severed Belicon's control.
Instantly. And in doing so, she asserted that the bond between her and Kidan trumps any external command.
Which leads us directly to the core of their alliance, which is not marriage, not an alliance, but something far more potent and intimate. They are godbound.
And Kidan doesn't mince words about it.
Yeah.
He declares that being godbound trumps getting married. The bond is existential. It blurs the lines between their physical and emotional states.
Saeris even notes that she can feel Kidan's emotions bleeding into hers.
She does. It suggests a profound empathic link that makes them sensitive to each other's physical and mental distress.
And this commitment is literally etched onto their bodies, correct?
Their arms are covered in interconnected runes and script, the god bindings, which are described as both beautiful and terrifying. These aren't just ceremonial tattoos. They are active, dynamic, magical workings that solidify their partnership and enhance Saeris' own chaotic magic.
And we see Saeris acquire 2 new, highly critical runes tied directly to the current crisis.
The first is the Quicksilver rune, solid metallic blue-black, reflecting her alchemist affinity for manipulating metal and the pools of Quicksilver used for travel.
And the second one?
The second is the Brimstone rune. It's glowing red and immensely painful. This is the rune that will need to be sealed, the one connected to the only known countermeasure against the black rot. The pain signals the raw, volatile nature of the power coursing through her.
Now we have to address Kaidan's aggressive, possessive nature in court. When he makes that very primal, very public declaration, refusing to let Carrion touch Saeris and threatening anyone who comes close, declaring they will scent the orgasm I'm about to give to you, that behavior is highly provocative, especially in such a hostile court.
It is provocative, but it's also highly strategic. In the cutthroat, primal world of the vampire court, vulnerability is deathing. Kidan is leveraging the primal nature of their god binding, which everyone in the court knows is sacred and dangerous, to assert Saeris' untouchable status.
But doesn't that reinforce the very critique her enemies level against her, that she is being ruled by her Fae mate?
And that's the calculated risk. He is choosing political offense over physical vulnerability. If he acts polite, they will view him as weak and Saeris as isolated.
Okay.
By making that hyper-possessive declaration, he forces the dangerous high-bloods to acknowledge 2 things immediately. 1, their bond is inviolable, and 2, that violation would unleash Kidan's immediate terrifying wrath.
So he's using their physical connection as a political weapon.
Absolutely. He's ensuring that any attempt to harm her is seen as an act against his deeply powerful self, which, given his shadow magic, is a massive deterrent. It's an act of public defense packaged as sexual dominance, a language the Blood Court unfortunately understands perfectly.
That's a fascinating interpretation, that the primal display is not just emotion, but a tactical necessity for survival in a place where decorum gets you poisoned.
Exactly.
Speaking of poisoning, let's turn the lens onto Ementreath, the seat of power, which the sources make clear is anything but regal.
No, it's not a palace at all. It's a clenched fist with knuckles for spires. A fortress. It physically embodies the political atmosphere inside. Predictable cruelty, constant violence, and archaic traditions established by Malcolm. The high and low bloods operate on a hierarchy maintained through fear.
But the very foundation of Saeris' claim, despite her half-blood status and her Fae mate, rests entirely on one magical safeguard: the crown curse. We need to fully explain the depth of this curse.
The Crown Curse is the single most important magical structure in the political system, and it was a direct product of Malcolm's paranoia. Historically, Malcolm placed this unbreakable geas, this profound magical oath, on his entire bloodline.
Okay, so what does it do?
It mandates that any vampire born of Malcolm's lineage must obey the Sanis crown.
So it's not just a tradition, it's a magical compulsion, like a leash.
A magical leash is a good way to put it. The sources imply it's tied to the deepest magic of their being, potentially invoking excruciating pain or even death if they try to defy the crowned authority.
Whoa.
Saeris is now the recipient of this power. As long as she holds the crown and issues decrees like forbidding harm to herself, Kaidan, or her allies, Malcolm's thousands of kin are magically restrained. This is her primary source of security.
So if she were to abandon her claim, that protection just vanishes.
Immediately. Which is why her enemies are constantly trying to weaken her legitimacy.
And her main internal opposition comes in the form of the Lords of Midnight, the council who maintain the old ways.
This is the elite power structure. 5 figures, 2 males, 2 females, and the enigmatic Hazrax, the Keeper of Silence. These are Malcolm's hand-picked, highest-ranking servants, each possessing rings gifted by the former tyrant, which are rumored sources of deep localized power.
Talladeas' ring is supposed to be the strongest, right?
That's what's noted, yes.
The chief antagonist among them is Zavina, the Keeper of Missives, who openly challenges Saeris' right to rule. What's her deal?
Zavina's antagonism is highly personal and political. We learn she was Lishan once. The term Lishan refers to the indigenous Fae who lived on the continent before the vampires, possessing specific deep connections to the land.
So she was one of them, then converted.
Exactly, and possibly against her will. This suggests a history of profound betrayal and bitterness, compounded by the fact she was Talladeas' former love. She views Saeris' half-blood status and her Fae mate as a horrific corruption of the vampire elite.
And she makes her move dramatically during the coronation ceremony.
The coronation was a highly volatile scene. Zavina dosed the wine intended for Saeris, but this was a calculated move. Not necessarily a killing dose, but one designed to weaken the new queen's physical and magical control.
She was hoping to trigger that chaotic alchemist reaction.
She was. If Saeris lashed out, she would disqualify herself immediately, potentially breaking the crown curse protection.
But Saeris, with pure defiance and a deep understanding of her magical leverage, maintained control. The incident culminated in the death of Lord Aerith.
And that was Saeris' brutal necessary statement. By turning the tables and enforcing the curse, she demonstrated that assaulting the crown, even subtly, results in immediate legal consequences. This show of power was so absolute that it instantly halted the coronation festivities and sparked a riot scare among the frightened high-bloods.
She showed them she wasn't the weak half-blood they were expecting.
Not at all.
The ensuing political tension immediately focuses on Talladeas, Saeris' maker, and her most important yet most complicated ally within the Lords of Midnight. He has to appear distanced from her for her own protection.
Talladeas is a character of profound moral ambiguity. We first have to understand his operations, notably the blood trade. This is where Fae females willingly enter his chambers in exchange for venom-induced orgasms, a service he provides at a high price, using his own venom.
The sources claim this arrangement is voluntary and mutually beneficial, but let's be real, when you are the powerful Lord of Midnight and Fae females are queuing up, how does this not compromise Saeris politically? It forces her to be allied with a really unsavory operation.
And that's the heart of the moral tension. While the sources frame it as a consensual transactional system necessary for his protection budget, it absolutely undermines Saeris' moral authority in the eyes of the Fae she is supposedly also protecting.
Yeah.
It highlights the deeply compromised alliances necessary to survive in Sanisroth. It shows that even the good political moves Talladeas makes are built on a foundation of ethically questionable compromises.
Which brings us to his ultimate sacrifice, the Great Shun. This was a shocking public ritual at the Evenlight Ball.
It was an act of severance designed to look like a shaming. Talladeas formally shunned Saeris, revoking his lineage, patronage, and the protection it implied. To be shunned under Malcolm's precedent was a fate worse than death. It was total political and social isolation.
So why do it? Why perform such a politically suicidal act, even if he claimed it was for her protection?
It was calculated political jujitsu. By publicly shunning her, he achieved 2 interlocking objectives. First, it countered the political whispers that Saeris was merely his puppet queen, removing the pretext for rivals to attack her under the guise of attacking his interests.
Okay, That makes sense.
Second, and more importantly, it forced her into immediate independent standing. She was now the queen by her own power, and the power of the crown curse alone, no longer tied to his highly toxic lineage. He sacrifices his reputation and connection to bear the public shame, ensuring her long-term viability.
Wow. A massive political play done with the full knowledge that he was hurting her emotionally to save her reign.
A brutal necessity.
The internal political strife is brutal, but it really pales in comparison to the scale of the existential disaster sweeping the land. The Black Rot. This is a magical ecological nightmare, far surpassing a simple disease.
It is a contagion that operates at an alarming, accelerating pace. And it is indiscriminate. It claims everything. Living vegetation, dead creatures, the land itself forming a multiplying, terrifying black corruption.
We see it leaving scorched earth behind, streaked in black veins, across landscapes like the Omnimuran Slope.
And the report that it's moving way faster than before signals a critical, escalating magical crisis.
And the enemy is fundamentally changed. We are no longer dealing with standard horde vampires. We are dealing with the Zilveran feeders.
These are exponentially more dangerous. They are former humans marked with tattoos, likely from Saeris' homeland. The descriptions of their resistance are terrifying, elevating the horror from a fantasy battle to a primal, biological threat.
Let's just dwell on the horror for a moment. Standard military tactics are useless against them, right?
Completely useless. Fire, usually a reliable defense, has no effect. Even more shocking, splintered shafts shoved into their eyes, which should instantly incapacitate any normal feeder. Don't slow them down.
But the most grotesque detail is the one we have to confront.
After being captured, lashed, pinned, and decapitated, their severed heads were still currently trying to chew their way out of the sack they were contained in.
No, that detail is critical because it forces us to rethink the pathology of the rot. This isn't just viral, it's a magical compulsion that overrides the basic mechanics of biological death.
And Kidan's deduction points to a sinister orchestration. The feeders are traveling through Quicksilver pools from Zilvaran.
Right.
Kidan knows that the Quicksilver would only deliver them to Euvalia if they had an active will or intent to come there. Since the general population of Zilvaran has no knowledge of Euvalia, it implies that the feeders are being compelled, potentially magically or mentally enslaved, by an external force that is actively directing them.
So this shifts the threat from a natural disaster to a targeted military invasion.
Exactly.
And the results of this invasion are already devastating, particularly in the Fae lands. We hear reports of over 1,300 dead and massive land lost. The speed of the rot and the ferocity of the feeders mean they are losing the war quickly.
And here's the strategic kicker. The very decree that secured Saeris' crown is now useless against the primary enemy.
What do you mean?
Saeris had successfully decommissioned the Horde, binding Malcolm's kin magically not to harm her or her allies. That should have ended the threat.
But the Zilveran feeders aren't Malcolm's kin.
Precisely. They are from a different lineage, likely tied to Madra, the ruler of Zilveran. They are entirely untethered from the crown curse.
So their biggest political win is now irrelevant against the actual enemy.
Utterly meaningless. They have won the internal political battle, only to realize the real war is being fought by a completely immune enemy.
This overwhelming urgency immediately dictates their next desperate magical step, securing the Brimstone.
The rod speed forces them to realize the only way to manage Saeris' chaotic power, which may be the only thing strong enough to fight the rod, is to seal her new Brimstone rune. The element Brimstone is the necessary component to complete the sealing process, hoping to gain control over that storm beneath her skin and deploy her as a weapon.
So this race against time turns Saeris and Kidan into detectives, researchers, and smugglers. They need to unlock forgotten knowledge and master high-stakes magic, all while dealing with severe personal costs.
And that starts with Quicksilver. It's the magical highway of this world, allowing instantaneous travel between realms and locations, with pools existing in key spots like Imontraith and Zilveran.
Kidan can open shadow gates, but that burns his magic. So Saeris, leveraging her alchemist affinity for metals, begins to manufacture relics to enable safe passage. What exactly is she creating?
She manufactures small, specialized objects, a chain, a signet ring, a specific charm for onyx imbued with her own magic. These relics allow the users to pass through the volatile Quicksilver pools without requiring Kidan to burn his limited shadow magic, maintaining an external gate. It's an essential logistical component for their operations.
It sounds incredibly efficient, a perfect blend of her elemental affinity and strategic need. But there's always a cost, isn't there? The sources reveal a heavy existential cost relayed by the mysterious Hazrax.
The Hazrax, the pale, strange keeper of silence who continually asserts, "I know everything," warns Saeris that for each relic she makes, she is bargaining with the very nature of her power. She is shaving off a piece of yourself for each one.
And the specific currency for this raw alchemist magic isn't gold or blood, it's memory.
Exactly. Saeris is essentially trading pieces of her past and her identity for usable magic. The Hazrax confirms that her mind is becoming riddled full of holes due to the traded memories.
Wow.
This reveals a critical rule of alchemist power. It's not simply conjured, it is bargained for with the self. It highlights the immense long-term danger she faces. Winning the war might mean losing her entire identity.
Given the urgency of understanding her own magic, Saeris must dive into the Black Palace's vast library, a dangerous pursuit that leads her to Khadan's estranged brother, Foley.
Foley is a figure of tragedy and resilience. He's a shunned vampire whose fangs were brutally ripped out by Malcolm. He survives by hunting small creatures, rats and birds, and has hidden himself in the labyrinthine depths of the library for 1,000 years.
So why is Foley, this exiled recluse, now suddenly the most valuable intellectual asset in the realm?
Because of his lineage and his isolation. His grandfather was connected to the original alchemists, and Foley, with 1,000 years of nothing but time, read the restricted texts. He survived the intellectual purge that followed the extermination of the alchemists.
And that purge wasn't just a book burning. It was an act of meticulous intellectual sabotage.
Right. Belicon's men didn't simply destroy texts, they scourged the realm of information. Entire chapters were deliberately cut or missing from books, making knowledge impossible to piece together from scattered remains.
But Foley was there. He had the time.
He did. He had the time and the unique access to protect or memorize the crucial texts, the discovery of elemental runes and their purposes. A comprehensive guide to alchemy, which Foley leads them to, is a critical turning point. It's the key. Saeris needs to understand the structure of the storm raging inside her.
While Saeris is researching, Khadan and Carrion embark on a perilous mission back to Zilverin.
Their mission is twofold. They need silver, a key component for more relics, and they need to search for Saeris' long-lost brother, Hayden. Zilverin is portrayed as a desolate realm under Murdra's oppressive rule. 2 scorching suns, heavily warded gates, severe water rationing, and skeletal populations. It's a place of quiet, systemic misery.
And it's here that Carrion Swift, the perpetual drunk and court idiot, suddenly reveals his shocking depth and utility.
Carrion's shift is one of the most satisfying revelations in the sources. His persona as a drunk and idiot jester was a deliberate 1,000-year survival strategy. He admits, if you treat me like I'm the court jester, I'll be the court jester. Then you're not thinking about who I really am.
So the court jester was, what, a spy? A survivor?
A survivor and so much more. He reveals himself to be incredibly sharp, possessing immense knowledge of Zilverin's workings and trade routes.
More than that, he reveals his true identity and the weight of his own lost destiny.
Yes, Carrion Swift is secretly the true Diantha's heir, an exiled royal. Playing the fool was the only way to survive Belicon's court, but now, with Saeris needing allies, he is stepping back into his destined role.
Their mission immediately runs into danger in the form of the scorpion demon Joshin in Zilverin's bell tower.
The fight with Joshin, the self-proclaimed king of the dark dream, is vital because they need its venom. Khadan uses his shadow magic, manifesting knives of pure magic, to fight. They eventually secure the venom in exchange for releasing Joshin from a magical trap he was caught in.
And this venom isn't for poison?
No, it's a critical component required later for creating a highly potent antivenom.
And the cost of being back in Zilverin hits Carrion hard and personally.
They discover the tragic death of his friend Gracia. In a deeply moving moment, Carrion burns his only remaining book Fae creatures of the Galarian Mountains on Gracia's pyre. This isn't just a symbolic gesture. It's a physical severing of his past life, underscoring the finality of his loss and his complete commitment to his new, dangerous path with Saeris.
All these intersecting missions and betrayals culminate back in Montreath during the treacherous Evenlight Ball.
The Blood Court, always relying on predictable cruelty, uses the ball as a massive trap designed to eliminate disloyal elements. They lace the wine with a specifically potent blood that triggers a painful, deadly seizure, essentially a magical heart attack, in those who consume it.
But thanks to Talladeas' subtle maneuvering, Foley, the newly redeemed recluse, gets his moment of profound redemption.
He does. Talladeas, recognizing the trap, subtly warns Foley not to drink the wine. Foley avoids the poison and then must immediately save his former tormentor Talladeas, who succumbed to the laced drink.
He saves him.
He executes a desperate life-saving act, forcing the antidote into Talladeas' throat.
And this antidote is a highly complex, magically infused cocktail.
It's a testament to their magical ingenuity, combining essential components: blood, salt, and the crucial Joshin's venom, which Kaidan had infused with his own protective shadows. This specific blend saves Talladeas, solidifies Foley's allegiance to the new reign, and offers a public display of the new regime's magical resourcefulness.
Zovina, the chief political antagonist, receives a far stranger outcome, courtesy of Talladeas.
Yeah, this part is wild. While saving Talladeas, the source reveals that Talladeas intentionally doses Zovina with a different substance during the chaos of the ball. The effect is profound and deeply mysterious. She undergoes a physical change, she regains her natural skin color, her eyes turn blue, and she begins to weep, something a high-blood vampire should be incapable of doing.
So he didn't just sideline her, he potentially cured or reversed her vampiric state. Why would he do this? Is it an act of twisted kindness toward his former love, or a masterstroke of political sabotage?
It's likely both. If Zovina is reversed, she loses her power within the blood court instantly. She's no longer a high blood, and she's suddenly vulnerable. He removed her as a political threat, while potentially offering her a painful path back to something resembling her former Fae humanity.
A truly complex act of political cruelty and affection.
Exactly.
The action shifts immediately from political theater to brutal magical combat when Belicon, the Fae King, finally makes his move against Kaidan.
Kaidan is lured to the Wicker Wood and trapped inside a magical prison, a transformed Dryad clan. The trap was strategically designed to neutralize the entire threat of the godbound partnership. Belicon's goal was to separate them, break Kaidan's bond with his god sword, Nimirel, and claim the powerful relic for himself.
He wanted to cripple Saeris' military arm?
Completely. And Kaidan felt powerless to refuse Belicon's command to draw him in.
But this is the moment where Saeris' preparation, the cost she paid in traded memories, pays off in spectacular fashion. Belicon believes he controls Kaidan via his true name, but Saeris prepared a counter-magic.
The rune for undoing, a simple small interlocking rune she secretly placed on Kaidan's hand, was the key. When Belicon asserted control by uttering Kaidan's true name, Saeris didn't hesitate. She spoke the full binding name Kaidan Greystar Finvara, and immediately followed it by activating the undoing rune.
So she acknowledged the magic and then just broke it.
She did. She simultaneously acknowledged the power of the name, but instantly broke the binding magic attached to it, severing Kaidan's enslavement and freeing him forever from any command tied to that name. It was an astonishing display of alchemist magic working in perfect concert with their bond.
And running throughout this entire confrontation, the enigmatic Hazrax, the pale creature with black eyes and webbed hands, acts as a strange, silent guide.
The Hazrax is far more than just the Keeper of Silence. Its intervention during the ambush, guiding Saeris and Kaidan toward the exit, reinforces its vast knowledge. It monitors and subtly manipulates events, confirming its claim. I do not know something, I know everything.
It's an omniscient player whose agenda is just completely unknown.
Utterly opaque. It's hinting at a grander hidden scheme operating far above the concerns of the Blood Court.
With the rot accelerating, Kaidan nearly captured, and the urgent need to seal the Brimstone rune, there is no time for respite. The final journey must begin immediately.
The necessity of securing the Brimstone, the elemental countermeasure, is paramount. The journey is guided by Kaidan's general, Renfis, who returns after being missing. Renfis confirms the location of the source is at the Ajun Gate.
Wait, we need to clarify the Ajun Gate. What is its significance, and why was Renfis compelled to serve it?
The Ajun Gate is a critical ancient location in Fae lore associated with knighthood and primal oaths. Renfis, as Kaidan's general, was bound by an ode mark which compelled him to serve the gate, causing his absence during the initial crisis. His return confirms the location of the Brimstone source. It's guarded by a figure of immense power that only the highest echelon of Fae mythology can touch.
That figure is the dragon.
The dragon. Saeris and Kaidan enter the mountain for the final confrontation.
And the guardian of the Brimstone is Styx, a gigantic, terrifying dragon, 70 feet tall, black scales, jagged teeth.
The encounter is immediately defined by magical hierarchy. Styx speaks only in Old Fae, an ancient, powerful language, and pointedly ignores Kaidan's attempt to engage in polite ambassadorial etiquette. Instead, the dragon demands that Saeris, whom it calls the Other, must speak first.
That distinction, calling Saeris the Other, is crucial. It suggests the dragon recognizes her dual nature and, more importantly, her alchemist power as the primary authority it is willing to deal with.
Does, and the raw power of the dragon is overwhelming. Styx spews superheated brimstone and molten rock, a force so immense that Saeris, in a desperate move, creates a shield, bigger and brighter than any she has summoned before.
But it's not enough.
Not even close. The brimstone tears right through it. Her body reacts violently, drawing the unfamiliar volatile magic to her, and she is instantly overwhelmed.
Kidan saves her, but the final harrowing scene is their capture.
The immediate aftermath is terrifying. They are chained and suspended in the dragon's lair, a place described as a hall of tormented souls, doomed to endure their suffering on an infinite loop. They are alive, but completely at the dragon's mercy. Styx demanded that the alchemist must speak. The final battle is about to be fought not with swords or shields, but with words and the high currency of a bargain.
So we have successfully navigated the relentless pace and treacherous depths of the Brimstone narrative. We've seen that Saeris and Kidan are fighting a war on three fronts: political manipulation, existential contagion, and the constantly escalating demands of their own magic.
And they're surviving only through an intense, often painful search for hidden knowledge and power, be it in the form of forbidden library tests, bargain venom, or the use of true names.
It's a world where commitment requires literal sacrifice. Talladeas sacrificed his standing to protect his queen, and Saeris continually sacrificed her own memory and well-being to craft necessary relics, facing the threat of losing herself entirely.
It is also a narrative about characters stepping up to roles they never sought. We watched Carrion Swift move from a survivalist jester and drunk to quietly researching how to become a king, the Dianthus heir, ready to take on the duty his heritage demands.
They escaped the Blood Court's poison trap, defied Belicon's attempt to magically enslave Kidan, and survived the initial fiery onslaught of the ancient dragon Styx. But now, in the dragon's lair, chained and surrounded by the echoes of tormented souls, the final terrifying demand has been made. Styx demanded Saeris, the alchemist, must speak.
And that raises the ultimate question for you to mull over. Saeris now holds chaotic, immense power, fueled by traded memories and searing brimstone. The Hazrax warned her that blood magic is crude, and Quicksilver demands memories. She stands before an ancient creature that guards the only source of power that can save her realm, a creature that recognized her singular identity, the other. Given the price of an alchemist's power, what unspeakable truth about herself, or what colossal bargain involving her very soul or identity, must Saeris make to secure their brimstone and return to a kingdom that is rapidly running out of time? The greatest sacrifice required to save her world may well be her words.